Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I wanted to cover more about freedom, a la Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. Screw your freedom.
So to tie into this, one of my viewers sent me this last night, or told me that this was happening. So I went to Madonna's Instagram page, and this is actually happening.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Madonna.
My birthday is right around the corner, and here's the best gift you can give me.
I wasn't planning to get you anything. The best gift, she's going to tell us what the best gift for her is. I didn't know we were doing that. Like, are we doing that? What are you getting me? So, apparently, Madonna's expecting her Instagram viewers, a lot of them who want to give her gifts because her birthday is right around the corner. Let's watch that again. That's just wonderful.
Hi, everyone. My birthday is right around the corner, and here's the best gift you can give me. As you know, I have a hospital called the Mercy James Center that I built 4 years ago.
Yeah, we know because you can't stop talking about. Like, I know that, right? Because she talked about, I think she had a whole video on it in her Madame Xpiration Date album. And, I'm not a subscriber to her Instagram page, but just on the, videos I've covered, I think I've heard this, her charity, right, that she has over and over again. Like, I know about it. I shouldn't know about it, but I do, because Madonna doesn't stop talking about what a wonderful person she is and her charity.
Because the staff there is amazing, and Dr. Borgstein, who runs it, is my hero, and together everyone who works there has saved thousands and thousands of children's lives. But also, it's expensive to keep a hospital going.
It's expensive. So this is where I come in and you come in, because Madonna, who's worth $850 million, almost $1 billion, she needs our money, to keep her charity going. It's her birthday. You should give some to her hospital. She has grossed $1.2 billion just in her concerts, never mind all her merch and stuff. And so she probably has even hidden wealth, right? She's probably a billionaire at least, and has lots of rich friends, all these really wealthy friends. But she wants everybody on Instagram, 15 million followers. She wants to get, if they all give her $1, right, to pay for her charity.
There are a lot of costs, and I can't do it on my own, so I'm asking for you.
Why can't you do it on your own? Like, you can do it on your own. Like, this is your charity. You want to do something good with your horrible life and how badly you've influenced everybody. I'm going to give you a gift. The gift of this video, because it's going to be brutal. This video, I realized something. I'm going to come back to this, but last night, and, just to expose what an absolute fraud Madonna is.
And I can't do it on my own, so I'm asking for you, for my birthday, to help me. So here's what I need.
For your birthday. This is what she needs for her birthday. Madonna's birthday should be important to you. She's like 92.
I would like all of you to donate money to buy a bed. I need 50 beds.
All of us should do it. Everyone watching this thing, we all should do it. It's her birthday. It's Madonna's birthday. She gets to have, something from us from her birthday. She hasn't stolen enough from everybody. This, ghoulish spiritual vampire, Madame Xpiration Date. She wants some, she wants some more money from you. It's her birthday. It's her birthday. This is something I see on Facebook where people who I don't know are asking me for money for their birthdays for some charity or something else. If you really want to get something for me for my birthday, well, I don't. Like, birthdays aren't a big deal to me. You know, I mean, it's a hassle for me. My own birthday's kind of a hassle. I just try to get through it for whatever, whatever reason. And I don't, I mean, we don't know each other, right? Oh, if you're going to get me anything for my birthday, well, I'm not, right? So let's just stop frickin' there.
That's 5 and that's 0. 50 beds, okay? What do I need those 50 beds for?
What do you need them for? So that you can harvest a dream room?
I need them because I want to ensure that every child that comes into that hospital and has an operation or surgery.
There's nothing says charity like dropping the 666.
Surgery of any kind has a bed to recuperate in afterwards and is taken care of with specialized medicine and with the great team of people that we have available. I'll name that bed after you, and you will forever be in not only my heart, but all the hearts of the children of Malawi and their families.
Yeah, so there's some pretty creepy names out there. You're going to have a bunch of kids sleeping in a bed with some creepy, I think you should rethink this.
Thank you in advance for your generosity, and happy birthday to me.
Yeah, exactly. Happy birthday to me. So that's the message from whatever it was. And then she said this, Raising Malawi thanks you in advance for your help, and so do I. My birthday is getting better every minute. So I heard about this last night. One of my viewers left a comment with this, and it was too late to make a video. And there's a bunch of more stuff to get to here. I don't know if I'm going to get to it all. I want to review the Hunter Biden thing, another JoJo, glitch out moment is coming up, and Free Britney Army has like gone off the rails, and like that's an issue. And now I guess her dad has stepped down on the conservatorship, and then there's a bunch of other financial stuff and inflation. I don't know what I'm going to get to in this video, but I was thinking about this, and I remembered the reason I came up with the Madame Xpiration Date. I had this distant memory, when Madonna was coming out as Madame X, and I called her Madame Xpiration Date. It's because I remembered her saying this thing in an old interview. And she said that, when she was the number one celebrity, she just really needed to receive. Like, I had a very vague memory of it. And I thought about it last night. And I started to, try to expand the memory, like figure out, where I saw that and what was it about. Because the way that she said it, I remember thinking, wow, what a spiritual vampire. Like somebody who needs to be fed. And I was thinking about, where'd that come from? Like, why would I even watch an interview with Madonna? And I remembered it was on Oprah, which is another thing, because I find Oprah really annoying. And I never watched Oprah. Like, I never, little blips here or there. Somebody else had it on. I had an old girlfriend that used to watch Oprah a little bit. And I was like, well, maybe it was from that. So I searched it on YouTube. I, searched the term Madonna and Oprah. And it was like 5-hour-long interviews, right? And I was like, there's no way I'm going to comb through this. This is where it becomes work. The video becomes work. And I'm not even totally sure. Did I actually, where did I see this? Was it actually on Oprah? And, why would I watch a Madonna interview? I mean, there's all these questions about it because, I really dislike Madonna and it's hard for me to listen to her talk. When I'm mocking her here and I'm making jokes, it's okay. But when I'm just, sitting there as a viewer, I would change the channel or turn the TV off. And so I'm like, am I going to go through 5 Oprah interviews with Madonna? I'm going to skip around. I'm not going to watch it from the beginning to the end, but it's still not fun. Like, I do this for a living. You don't know how much time I spend, looking through things. And I'm not even sure it is an Oprah interview, right? Totally, it's a very vague memory. But I ended up finding it, and I found a bunch of other stuff in these Oprah interviews. And, it didn't take that long, and that's one of the things I credit, and one of the many things I credit with the Heartfulness meditation, that it ended up being very easy for me to find. Even though there was 5 hours of interview, I was able to pin it down. But here's the original quote.
What do you think now when you look back at some of those years? I mean, all the little girls who were imitating you and walking around with the breasts pointed out and their bras on the outside of the clothes and
She's got this sort of devilish, demonic look on her face, right? Because this is something I've talked about over and over again. And this is, I saw this years ago, and I don't remember most of it. Like, I don't remember this part. I only remember that one line that's coming up. See, one of the ideas that I've said over and over again, you have these ideas, you do personality assessments, right? So as a professional counselor, I have a master's degree in counseling. I used to have to do professional assessments, and through the heartfulness meditation when I was a preceptor, you had to do, a reading of people's internal condition, their spiritual condition, and that would come in many different forms. But through those things and just being introverted and my personality type, dyslexia and things like this, pattern recognition, I see things, right, that aren't, they're just ideas that come to me. And I put these ideas out, but I'm not, totally sure they're accurate. I mean, they could be, some level of projection, whatever it might be. So this interview is validation of things that I've said. Because one of the things that I've said over and over again, which is, I think factual, is Madonna influenced so much of what you see today in terms of the pop culture, in terms of devil worship, in terms of Illuminati kind of stuff, in terms of, feminism and some of the stuff to do with all the social and cultural issues, to do with, the changes we see now started with Madonna, right? She influenced she was the beginning of the MTV generation that has devolved into what we have now in terms of, social media and the pushing of the Hollywood morality. We have a Hollywood morality now. And Madonna, more than anyone else, like the, Babylonian whore kind of archetype, has pushed the degradation of the moral fiber of America and the world for that matter. And she has this devilish look, as Oprah, mentions it to her.
Because they didn't have what you had, but wanted whatever they thought the illusion that you had.
Right.
They wanted that.
Yeah.
Illusion is a great word here because it's all illusion, right? It's an illusion of somebody being more than they are. Like the idea of celebrity is somehow these people are above you when they're really below you in the sense of their spiritual development. I mean, maybe, they're not higher than the majority of people because they're so materialistic, which is going to come up here because Madonna is one of the most materialistic persons. And we know how this ends up with her begging for money for a hospital when she's a billionaire or practically a billionaire.
And we're not looking beneath the surface of anything other than I want.
Exactly.
What do you think when you look back on that time in your...
When I look back at it, I think, wow, I had a huge desire to receive. I think, wow, I had a huge desire to receive. I think, wow, I had a huge desire to receive. I had big dreams. I was ambitious. I was courageous. I was provocative, but I don't feel like I had the whole picture of life.
Once in a while, you get just a glimpse into the internal world of a person, right? Because, we have our outsides. We have our brands. We have what the person we want the world to see. And this is what I talk about so much here, to do with the heartfulness meditation. It works on the insides of people. We live in such a material world, and she's a material girl. We're going to come back to that because that's how this part of the conversation happened with Oprah. But you can see, like, there's this moment where she says, I had a need to receive, and then that expression on her face and the way that she's holding her hands, you can just see into Madonna's internal world. And in this interview and a previous interview, which I'll get to also, she's kind of claiming that she's over the whole material thing. But we end up knowing, because we know how this movie ends, right? At least how it's evolved to this point, is that she's still Madame Xpiration Date. And the reason I gave her that name, which has turned out to be very accurate, as you can see in these clips, is that she has this deep need to receive. And this, moment for this interview, and I'll talk about my watching it, which is imperative to this whole, covering of this, left a deep impression of not just Madonna, but the whole celebrity culture. They have a need to receive, right? They have a void inside of them. And Madonna is the ultimate. This is why I keep on talking about her. She's the poster child for the Hollywood celebrity that still desperately needs to receive. She's got this void inside of her, right? She has, emptiness there. And it has to be filled with fame and attention. And it's my birthday. My birthday, on her birthday, it isn't about her, she can't ask you for money, right? Like she can't ask her Instagram followers for money because she's, like I said, probably a billionaire, at least $860 million, right, worth of Madonna wealth. So she can't, ask you for money, but she wants something from you for her birthday because she's Madame Xpiration Date. She has this, desperate need for external validation and energy from other people, her fans. And so by you donating a little bit of money to her hospital for beds, or people donating, more, whatever it is, right? Whatever she's going to get out of people, and she'll get it. She's got 15 million whatevers. It's her being validated. It's her charity. It's her thing, but it's about her birthday, right?
And happy birthday to me.
It's about, Madonna getting something from, like she didn't, take enough from people. Her, her influence on society and the moral degradation that she was a, partial catalyst for, a major catalyst for, and all the things that have happened. No, I desperately need to receive, right? It's, let's watch that again.
I think, wow, I had a huge desire to receive.
And so when she says, I desperately need to receive, and then that expression on her face, you can see her internal world. You can see, you don't get to see her soul, which is a deeper level, but you can see her, personality, her ego, and what she is sort of this almost like demonic figure that is just desperate for external resources to prop her up, to keep her going. That's why she's Madame Xpiration Date. She's still trying to be relevant. You can see it, like you just see the, the affect and just how she expressed herself in this moment. It's one of the true moments of, revealing what's inside of her. Like you just have these things that you'll see in people in your lives. My brother, a long time ago, he was dating this like really crazy woman, like really crazy. And he had this picture of her, and she had this scared little girl look on her face. She looked like a 3 or 4 year old child who was like terrified. And he said, this is her inner condition, I think. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. Like sometimes you'll just get these moments where you get a glimpse behind the brand, behind the, the people trying to pretend they're nice and all the things that people do and people are lying to themselves and they don't even know who they are. And these moments come through, and I've had it, certainly as a counselor when I had to do psychological assessments, but also as a spiritual person reading the conditions of other people. And now I do it when I make videos. And this is why, this moment of I need to receive, is Madonna saying that is, where the Madame Xpiration Date idea came from. So earlier, like what led up to this part of the conversation, she gets into, her materialism again, trying to say that she has learned not to be materialistic. But let's watch that piece.
Have all of these things that money can buy, but I've realized that those aren't the things that make you happy, that make you feel fulfilled. Mm-hmm.
Now she says that like she finally figured out materialism isn't, the goal of life. But she said the same thing in 1998, because I have that interview. I'm going to go and show you a little bit of that. And then she talks about her demons and things also, which is interesting. But we know like how materialistic she is now. Like she's in her 60s, whatever, 61, 65, something. And she's still begging for validation, people to give her money on her birthday, right? And so, like, you haven't figured that out,
And that nothing in the material world will ever make us happy.
You are the material girl.
Well, that was meant to be ironic. Yeah.
But was it, though? Come on. She is the material girl, right? She's really materialistic. In fact, like, I don't have it here. I'm not going to cover that. But she talked about her baby daughter being dressed in some expensive designer outfit, right? Like Cardi B buying her daughter a $100,000 bracelet or whatever it is. Like, she's materialistic. Like, that's her whole thing.
No, but I mean, I'm so not the material girl. I mean, I suppose to a certain extent there were many years in my life. I mean, I'm sure, I don't suppose, where I thought that that those things would, that fame and fortune and public approval would bring me happiness.
Yeah.
And then, well, one day you wake up and you realize it doesn't.
And then she goes on to say this.
I stood on things. I wanted to understand what the meaning of happiness was and how I was going to go about finding true and lasting happiness in my life, and how I was going to teach that to my daughter.
And the answer is Kabbalah, or Kabbalah. Kabbalah, I believe it's pronounced. This is the interview where she tells Oprah that she practices Kabbalah, right? And I'm going to come back to that because that's how I ended up finding this clip. And this idea of happiness, which is central to my YouTube channel, this idea that materiality and fame and fortune don't lead you to happiness. And Madonna says it over and over again in these interviews, and yet she can't get away from it because she hasn't learned to find love somewhere else, right? I'm going to, she's going to talk about this in this other interview. But going back to this Arnold Schwarzenegger quote here.
Screw your freedom.
In America, freedom and lifestyle and happiness, the pursuit of happiness, all are intertwined. And so I want to come back to this at the end of the video, but this is all going to weave together here. So what led me to this interview, where I finally found that quote about her saying she needed to receive, right, was I watched this other interview. And it only took me about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to go through all this material. And I got a lot more out of this that I'm not showing in terms of, like, she goes on to say that her marriage to Guy Ritchie she learned how to love unconditionally, right? I finally learned to love someone unconditionally. Of course, they're divorced now. And now she's back to sucking, begging for money on Instagram for personal validation. So, all these things that she says about her realizing that fame and fortune and all these things didn't lead to happiness. Well, true, but she's still addicted to it, right? She's still this, demon of fame and fortune.
Do you still think you have a lot of them, or
Demons?
a couple? Yeah,
I got a couple.
Got a couple demons.
Got a couple.
Yeah,
Still working it out.
And there's one of them. There's one of them emerging here. And then she goes on to talk about,
I get it when I study the Kabbalah. I get it.
That's either right before or right after she talked about the demons. And when I saw that, I remembered, because I watched this interview first, I combed through it, and I remembered that I had seen her on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And it's in 2003. This interview I'm showing you now, these clips are from 1998. But the original one I showed you was from 2003. And I tried to figure out how and why I would have watched Madonna being interviewed by Oprah. Because I originally thought, like I said, that I must have seen it when my, an old girlfriend watched the show. I must have seen some of the clip. But that was years before 2003. That was in the early 90s or the late 80s, right? And so I didn't remember watching Oprah ever in the time frame that I'm talking about. So it's kind of odd because I don't even think we had a TV. It was a time where my first marriage was really stressful, and we had a lot of young kids, and I was working at a treatment center with sex offenders, and we didn't own a TV. So I wasn't on the computer yet. And it was when we had a dial-up modem, so it was almost impossible to watch videos. And so I know it wasn't on the computer. But it's important because this idea, which I had seen, I had to have some framework for this idea that celebrities were miserable. And, that Madame Xpiration Date quote where she said that she, needed to receive, right, in this vampirish way. It just stuck with me. And it's been essential for this YouTube channel because I contrast what you get when you have a spiritual life, when you serve your soul's purpose, and what you end up like with Madonna and Will Smith and so many of these celebrities, all of them to one extent or another, who are so desperate to stay relevant because they have, taken the path of the ego and they can't switch off of it. Like they can't, rearrange their existence to have a soul-driven existence. They're completely ego-based, and they're miserable, and they're desperate, and they turn into these ghoulish vampires trying to suck up any little bit of, fame and attention that they can muster long past their prime.
Is a feat in itself.
But you were more than famous. You defined fame for the 80s and now.
Yeah.
It's more, you're not just a person who's known, not just celebrity, but kind of defined it in a way where people...
Yeah.
This is important because, like I've said over and over again, there are certain celebrities that were iconic, right? They were at the top of their whatever genre that they were. Will Smith was one of them. Madonna is another. And who are late in their life desperately, like Will Smith has his own YouTube channel, Madonna is big on Instagram, and they're still desperate to stay relevant. And you think they would have gotten enough, right, of whatever that was, because you see it, both of them are miserable. Will Smith is still hiding it. Will Smith is, faking a lot of different things. But Madonna, in these interviews, now I think I watched 3 little bits and pieces of 3 of them, and I came across the section, maybe it was 4, I don't know, last night, when I was combing through these interviews with Oprah. And I watched, a little bit of maybe 3 or 4. And she said over and over again she's basically unhappy. Like she, talked about being miserable. And you can just see it in her face and her affect. Like Madonna's an angry person. She's still very angry. She's, she thinks of herself as a Hollywood activist, but she's filled with rage and anger and all this stuff. And then she's begging people for money for hospital beds that she could easily afford, on her birthday.
There was this adoration factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's always been a cult of celebrity, through the centuries. But I think because of, the explosion of all the different kinds of media that we have, it's turned into something much bigger. And I sort of rode that wave.
And 23 years later, she's still trying to ride it, right? Like this is her, this is the where you can see that her future of Madame Xpiration Date is emerging.
And I think that it isn't until you become famous that you realize how superficial it is and how it's not a goal, it's a byproduct.
Which would have been fine, right? All right, you have this realization, you have kids now, you realize you're not happy, and she goes through these things and all the, anger she felt, and depression. I mean, it's more in these interviews. She's married to that Guy Ritchie or whatever it is, the director, and she says she's found the ability to have unconditional love. And here she is back on Instagram. She's just produced this Madame Xpiration Date album, trying to be, and it's like, it's young people stuff. It's stuff that people do in their 20s. Pop music isn't for the elderly, It's something that it's targeted for the youth. It has a youthful energy to it. That other interview, the first one I did, she talked about the kiss with Britney. So that was in 2003. And so that was her passing the torch. She was already considered old for pop music. And now here she is begging for, attention on Instagram and her birthday. And everyone, remember, it's my birthday, right? So we know how this ends. It doesn't end with her realizing fame isn't what it's all cracked up to be. She realizes at some point that's the best she can do.
So
Was that in the drowning?
drowned world,
Drowned world, yeah.
or substitute for love, which fame can be. That's, the other title of the song.
You can see just the sadness and the ghoulishness and the darkness in her face, right? The gloom there. And fame is not a substitute for love, and there's no substitute for love, because love is the very fundamental building blocks of everything. Love is the most subtle. I've talked about this. The most subtle energy, the most subtle, thing, right? Whatever it might be in the universe. There's nothing more subtle than love. Everything's a grosser form, a perverted form of love. Love is the media for all existence. And so everything comes from love. Everything's created out of love. Love is the creative force. Love is God. That's the idea behind this. There's many religions that try to show you God as anthropomorphic. God is man, right? A lot of that comes from the Christian tradition that says God made man in his image. But what that really means is God is love, and love creates everything. And so the fundamental aspect of your soul is in God's image, right? It is a reproduction of God, and your soul is love in that sense, right? I've talked about that. The thought force that we have to manifest things is similar to the thought that created God, that created the universe, and loving, and the loving purity of the universe, right? So that's what that means in terms of man being in the image of God. And everything in that sense is, everything has a soul energy, right? That everything that exists, even like stones or, a planet or everything that has some sort of physical existence, has a subtle body, has soul energy and things, has an etheric creation, just like everything on a computer is really just code, right? If you look at what you're seeing on the computer, it's really, binary code. And so, love is nutrition. Love is like the fundamental nutrition that everybody needs. And you need love to exist. Now, people might not feel love. They might feel anything but love in their life, but everything has a little love in it, right? I've talked about this before. You can survive, maybe 30, 40 days without food, whatever, a longer period of time, 3 or 4 days without water, and under, a couple of minutes without oxygen, without breathing, 10 minutes, I think, what is the record for someone holding their breath, and not at all without love, right? You can't survive a second, any amount of time without love. Love is, in everything and everybody. And when you consume food, there's love in it. When you get, fame, there's some love in it, right? But you need a lot of that to extract enough love to sustain you. And most people are completely drained to their love bank. People have drained them. The system has drained them. And so there's no love left in their system. And so that's what the heartfulness meditation is. The transmission that's given is pure love, right? It's love in the unadulterated form. And so when you sit in meditation, the heartfulness system, and you receive transmission, you're getting love and its spiritual nutrition. And some people aren't sensitive enough to feel it. I mean, no one can feel it, in its pristine form. I mean, everyone has, even if you feel it, you're just feeling the effects, right? You have one instrument in your system, your heart, which has the ability to feel the effects of love. Your heart is subtle enough, and it is a love receiver. That's why it's your center for love. And so all these other things that people pursue in life are, perverted form of love and are not a substitute. You can never create a substitute for God, right? But most people don't believe they deserve love. That's why they end up being in bad relationships, because deep down they don't think they deserve to be loved. And that's why they do anything but find love, right? They're looking for love in all the wrong places because they don't really want to find it. They're scared of God. They feel guilty and ashamed of what they are. I mean, again, when you do the heartfulness meditation, there's something out there where you can just get your love bank refilled, your depleted love bank, right? I mean, even Madonna is aware that she was trying to substitute love, which she couldn't, muster up in her life and still can't. You can see it, right? Madame Expiration Date. And so there's a system out there that fills people's hearts with love. But even people who do it often quit or they resist it because there's a feeling of guilt, like they don't deserve it. Even though on a soul level and on a very, primary level, everybody craves love. You need love to, love is the motivating force. It's a creative force, and it's essential to succeed. And that's why I contrast what, most people's goal is, the American dream, is for wealth and fame. They want to be Madonna, or they want to be, some sort of big athlete, or even a politician, or even maybe a rich banker because of, the monetary aspect. And then they achieve that, or they don't achieve that, and both, they're miserable with both, right? Even more miserable when they achieve it and they realize that this wasn't it, right? She's saying this over and over again. She says it here in 1998 and then says it again in 2003, and she's still out there looking for love in all the wrong places with fame and, trying to be relevant. But love is everywhere, and most importantly, it's inside yourself. And there's a system now that there is this transmission that's given that fills your love bank. So you could have, a full love bank and then go around and do your, duty, do your work, perform your tasks without this deep craving for this, emptiness that you feel inside, this huge void. But most people, they want the void, right? Most people just go after something material. It could be an addiction. It could be any number of things. And that's why the world's so fucked up right now, because of human beings looking for things that aren't their true goal or true purpose.
I think that 2 years ago, I wasn't really sure what I was on this earth for. I think I was mostly concerned with getting things for myself. Mm-hmm. More clothes, more money, more popularity, more approval, more boyfriends, more it was just like
some kind of insatiable demon inside of you, right?
Of people in a stadium and being intimate with one person alone in a room, and we all know which one is scarier. Okay.
So do you?
So there's that demon again.
Okay. I just want to know that they're going to love me forever and ever and ever.
Well, they're not, right? They're not going to love you forever. So I'm going to come back to this. So speaking of desperately seeking freedom, police monitoring death threats made against judge in Britney Spears case. So you think about this, right? Think about the fans of Britney Spears. They're desperate for Britney to be free, this whole Free Britney movement, the Free Britney Army, and how crazed they are. They're getting like QBs over this whole thing, right? I mean, it's just, you're not there. Obviously, Britney does have some mental issues, and there's no easy answer here. Like, we don't know what the judge is or isn't, but the Free Britney people don't care because they are obsessed and they're locked in and they're frustrated and angry, and so they just lash out stupidly. It only hurts Britney and the whole thing, right? I mean, and she's responsible for some of it because she's cultivated this craziness. Either she's capable of, being a responsible adult or not, right? She's capable of managing her finances and taking care of her kids and all the rest of it, or she's not. And that's not for you to decide, Britney fan. I mean, I don't believe in conservatorships, and I believe if she's going to blow through her money and make poor choices, then she should be allowed to do it. I mean, this is, I think that's ultimately what would happen. People would take advantage of her, and she would, end up being, destitute, living in some hobble somewhere, drug addict possibly, who knows, or do something stupid and have an early death. The alternative is having the government, her dad, and lawyers and other, shady and seedy people manage her finances and rip her off that way. Like, there's no, good answer here. There's no positive solution. There's no happy ending in Britney land. And then it came out that her dad is withdrawing. Britney Spears' father, Jamie Spears, agrees to step down from conservatorship. And so that should be enough, right? But it's, probably not for Britney or her Free Britney people. So let's see what she's saying anything. She's free. That's just a quote. But she's got her roses, right? She's got that obsession with roses. That's pretty creepy. And she does this. Video from Maui. You can see the last dance in the red top. I'm very hesitant when dancing, but letting go is freedom. I'm not sure exactly why I'm being so cautious. It might be my left foot that was broken talking to me. You can tell when I turn. Hopefully I will let go thoroughly and follow through soon. We can only hope. There's another one of her kind of weird modeling videos that she does. So Britney at least is semi-free from her conservatorship from her dad. And the Free Britney Army ended up where we all knew it was going to end up, doing things that are counterproductive. So my wife sent me this today, and I wanted to also incorporate what I was talking about in terms of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and freedom and happiness and all the rest of it, right? Looking for love in the wrong places.
Then when I inherited this job, when I inherited.
You didn't inherit it. You're not a king, right? You're not a prince.
The coronavirus pandemic when I first got elected. So the thing that I continue to hope that people will.
JoJo having another, senior moment here.
Overcome their fears.
Screw your freedom.
When we come back, Madonna tells us how she has truly found freedom.
So going back to the central point of this video, when George W. Bush, after, big events happened, and he said that other people hated us because of our freedom. Remember? He was like, they hate us because of our freedom. And what he really meant there was our lifestyle. It isn't our freedom, it's our lifestyle. When they talk about freedom, Americans having freedom, it's our quality of life, our ability to choose between so many different things. And the reason why other people in other countries aren't digging American lifestyle, American so-called freedom, is that to procure this lifestyle for us all, our military-industrial complex and our monetary system, the petrodollar, has to screw other countries out of their resources. And so they're suffering on a lifestyle basis and, destroy their governments and things like this, all the things I talk about here, so that we can enjoy what we enjoy here. Because freedom is an illusion. Happiness is never permanent. When Americans say you're free, right, that doesn't mean anything. It really means you have more freedom of choices, more choices. In the heartfulness system, it's freedom from freedom, because it's really freedom represents the wrong choice. If you're adhering to your soul's plan and you're doing God's will, then you only have one choice. It's a repetitive choice of choosing what God wants you to do, what your soul wants you to do. And that's always singular. That's a singular choice. And then there's an infinite amount of wrong choices you could make that deviate from that path, deviate from God's will, from what your soul wants you to do. Well, your egos, I talked about this in terms of wishes, slaves of wishes putting bar to our advancement, one of the lines of the heartfulness prayer, that wishes are infinite, but needs are finite. Your needs can get met on planet Earth. Your wishes, not so much. I mean, some of the wishes, but not all of them and not everybody's. And so that's what freedom really is. When Arnold Schwarzenegger says, screw your freedom, what he's talking about really is your ability to choose things, your ability to have these choices, right? When Oprah says Madonna has finally found freedom, she's found freedom. So there's no freedom to find, because in your physical body, you need water, you need food, you need oxygen. And so you're not free from any of those things. You're not free physically from your constraints. You're going to get hungry later on. Maybe you're hungry now. You're going to have, whatever physical needs you have. And then there's, whatever else you might need, right? There's so many things that your physical body demands. And of course, your sexual appetites, your, desire to not be alone, to have company of other people, for fresh air and sunlight, and whatever it might be. There's so many things our body needs, and we need psychologically, that we're, bound to. And then there's some scars. I've talked about that before. The impressions that we have created in an earlier existence, somewhere here or somewhere else, that are, needs to be recognized, needs to be actualized in this physical life that we have. And so we're born with all this bondage that keeps us bound to planet Earth until we solve all these samskaric equations, these impressions, until we live these things through. The experience of it is done in the right way, and we can free ourselves from this earthly bondage. We're trapped here, life in and life out. And so then comes the state of liberation, which is freedom from physical earth, but you're still bound to God. You still have responsibilities to God. So freedom from freedom in the heartfulness system means choosing what's right, choosing what your soul and God wants you to do, where you no longer can choose what's wrong, choose the wrong choice, choose to do wrong. There was this great thing I read some years ago, and it came back up. I was thinking about it yesterday, I think. And, I was self-publishing books. I've self-published a couple of books. I have another one it's finished. I just have to get it edited and then put it up. And then there's going to be the third book I have to write in the Art of Remembrance trilogy that, I couldn't even remember what that was. I had to go look it up. And so we'll see how that all goes. But anyways, I was self-publishing. I got a couple of books self-published on Amazon. My friend with it is a children's book and The Choice. And I was reading a book by this guy who's self-published lots of books. And there was two options to self-publish your book. One was called Lightning Source, and the other one was called Creative something. It was Amazon's app, right? It used to be a separate part of Amazon. Now they just make it a part of Amazon. And Lightning Source was a traditional self-publishing organization that's been around for years. It was family sort of owned business. You got more hands-on. You could talk to people, and they were very helpful. And, it was the more organic choice. But because Amazon was becoming Amazon, so this is back, in 2000, I don't know what it was, 7 or 8 or 9 or something like this. And so Amazon was already big, and it was going to be bigger. And the guy said that, he preferred Lightning Source, but it was obvious that Amazon was the way to go. He said, you're fighting a battle that was lost in like 2009 or 10 or something. So it must have been 2012 or 13 when I was reading this book. That's when I self-published The Choice. And so he was saying that this battle was already lost. Lightning Source lost it because Amazon just offered too much, right? You could still sell your book on Amazon if you use Lightning Source, but, they had print on demand at Amazon, and so you didn't have to buy a whole bunch of books. I mean, it's just all these different factors. And so even though Lightning Source was better, their software was better and more user-friendly or whatever it was, and it was the more, preferable choice, Amazon was the conglomerate, the battle had already been lost. And it's something that I think about every once in a while because, the guy wasn't trying to be prophetic, but that's happened so much recently. The battle's already been lost. When Trumpers thought Trump could save the whatever, do whatever, make America whatever again, right? Whatever Trumpers thought, that battle had already been lost. You could see it. You could see it throughout his presidency. He was blocked at every turn, and he wasn't going to do it anyway. He wasn't, he's still a part of it, right? But he couldn't even do the little bit that he wanted to do, and he couldn't even tweet and things and be a more organic president. I mean, they didn't even allow him that, and they eventually got rid of him. And you can see it now, and I'm going, this is tying into freedom and happiness and all these things and lifestyle, because the difference between a king and a president is the president's son, if he's a criminal, or if the president is acting out in such a way, the system is supposed to hold them accountable, right? If a king goes senile, there's not much you can do. I mean, the same kind of things that they're doing now with Joe Biden, where other people are making the king's decisions, but it's a lot slipperier, and it has to be even more underhanded. But with Hunter Biden, what he's doing, right, in terms of his crack addiction, all the things, the criminal behavior, exploiting his father's position, making deals with foreign governments for access, and the crack addiction and the strippers and all these things, that's the kind of thing a king's son gets away with, right? For the media to ignore it and support him, and Jimmy Kimmel slobber all over him for admitting he's a crackhead, this thing that happened. And so many people know about this and are outraged because, there should be some consequences for it. And Joe Biden is a disaster as a person and a politician before he started to show signs of pretty, well-advanced dementia. And see, you no longer have that, right? Your opinion doesn't matter. They don't care. They're not trying to appease you, right? They're not, they're not worried about your reaction because they know they have you, right? And they know your lifestyle is going to take a hit, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Your freedom of choices, the plethora of choices, a smorgasbord of choices is disappearing. And they're just throwing it right in your face. They're showing you can do nothing about it. I mean, there's a major power grab, and it's not a left power grab. It's not a liberal power grab. It's being run by the same people that controlled both the right and the left. For years, the right had the power. The right had more power than the left. And it was when they needed America to be the world's police, the world's army. So the right was given the power. The right was, the more powerful of the two movements. In fact, even now, the moderate Democrats, I mean, there's these extreme liberals, but they've never elected an extreme liberal, at least in terms of how they've campaigned, right? In terms of Joe Biden always was considered a moderate, even though he's pushing this agenda. Again, not a liberal agenda. It's the new agenda that the controllers want to run through America, and it involves losing your lifestyle, aka your freedoms, because the economy's collapsed. Which brings us to the happiness. Madonna saying she's trying to figure out how to find happiness, and that's in context of her talking about spirituality and her whatever it is, Kabbalah stuff she was doing, her New Age stuff, that she was looking for a path to happiness, which is Oprah's big thing. And I've said this over and over again, there's no such thing as perpetual happiness unless you just are happy with whatever, right? You're happy in any circumstance. You're happy, you're grateful, because happiness is a condition, right? It involves serotonin and all these things. But you can be grateful and even be in a bad mood. You can work towards gratitude. Gratitude comes from the heart, but you can cultivate the right attitudes so that, you can cultivate the gratitude in your heart, right? And that's all we can do, right? The powers that be are, pushing as much as they can. And they have goals they have to accomplish, or it's a systemic shutdown. And they can't say that to you because our system is based in perception. So they have to push this agenda, pushing you as far as they can. I mean, think about how outrageous it is. I mean, just as an example of this, I mean, certainly Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and the way that they're acting, and the media and nobody doing anything, but the audacity of Madonna asking you for money. Hospital beds, the ones that go up and down automatically for children, they start at about $900. And so they have some, good ones for $1,500, $2,000. And so she wants, 25, 50 beds, what'd she say? And so that's nothing, $100,000 to a person that has $880 million, right? And then, she has all the wealthy friends, and she could make a deal with the company and advertise them on Instagram and say they gave us a discount price or whatever, just by her 15 million Instagram followers getting to hear about these hospital beds, the brand. I mean, she's always good at making deals or whatever. And I was going to show her, like, I made a montage of some of her stuff that she did in terms of the makeup stuff and all these things that she sold. And I just covered that in a recent video, but she was charging like $800, $900 just for a little jar of cream, right? And so, I mean, it's just she wants to get every penny out of you that she can. Just think about that. And she's been such a poster child for what I talk about here. An unhappy, greedy, vampirish ghoul that wants to suck out as much energy and resources from her fan base as she possibly can for as long as she can. And to think that I saw that again, like, I can't even emphasize how weird it was that I chose to watch that interview between Oprah and Madonna. Like, I've never really liked celebrity culture things. That's why, I cover them in a harsh way here. I never really got it. I couldn't watch Entertainment Tonight. Like, I would go to the doctor's office or dentist's office or something. There'd be a People magazine. And I would look at it. I'm like, oh, this is horrible. Like, how can people read this? Like, I just never cared about celebrity culture. I never thought they were anything special. I enjoy movies and TV, but I didn't think, I didn't buy into the glamour. I couldn't watch the Oscars. I mean, I just, it was a complete thought. I could only watch a couple minutes of it. Like the news is now, right? It's just, it sucks the life out of you. And so for me to watch that years ago and then end up doing videos about this subject and Madame Xpiration Date creating herself, right? Right in front of us, that being an example of somebody who can't grow old gracefully and accept, the stage of life she's supposed to be in and what she needs from all of her fans just to keep her going. I mean, it's just a sickness. And now with social media, everyone wants to be a social media star, and people think they're going to be happy and they're going to feel validated, but the internet's so rough, and then they get criticized, and then they cry and whine and act like a victim, and it's just a complete mess, right? And so, the only thing that we can do is ride out the storm and then, build something better on the other side. There's no solution to this, right? The material world is becoming more and more of a shit show, and it's becoming less and less pleasurable. Your choices, your freedoms, right? Your freedom to choose amongst many bad choices are dwindling, right? They're becoming less and less. And so, that's what they mean by all this. You can see it. And it was never that great. You can see about sports now, the Olympics. You can see about everything that's going on in the world, movies, TV shows. They're wrecking all of it. It's unpleasant, especially for the older generations that grew up when there was a different power structure. And now it's shifted to something that's like even worse. It wasn't great before, And so materiality isn't the way to go anymore. Materialism is fading, like the materialistic system, the debt-based system, and it should because of the immorality and the selfishness and just everything that has been exhibited by all of us, right? It's pulled out the worst version of us from this, system that cuts you off from God. Your religious system acts as a middleman between you and God, or science is the new religion, or whatever it might be, atheism and all these things, and then cuts people off from their family and what it is to be a natural human being, and pumps them full of non-organic fats and, GMO sweets and GMO foods and all these things and natural chemicals, and then the COVID stuff. And you see people over and over again not wanting or thinking something's a good thing or even a moral thing, but they just go along with it because it's being forced on them. It's just easier for them to just cave to the pressure, and you see that more and more. And so the system is collapsing because human beings have no spine, have no, connection to God, have no, ethical line in the sand that they're going to draw or whatever it might be. And so it isn't a time to seek happiness in the material world, right? It's just going to be more and more loss and more craziness, right? More and more of a shit show. But in terms of your spiritual life, focusing, the heartfulness meditation that I do, connecting to God on a deep level, all these things, right? Rising up to a higher level of consciousness and being grateful for all the miseries and suffering that is going to befall all of us is a solution, right? It is the solution, because you're not going to find happiness in the material world. You couldn't when it was a time of abundance, but now we're entering a time of deprivation that's even harder. But one can make leaps and bounds on the spiritual plane during this time. It's just a unique opportunity. It's just a matter of how many people take advantage of it. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting for the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.